Good afternoon. It is Thursday the 27th of October. I'm Caroline of Caroline's Corner here on Flosstube. I live in Leeds in the UK and I am back for Flosstube number 26. I'm actually back when I said I might be back. As I predicted, it's now half term. First half term of the year is always absolutely nuts at work. I work in a FE college, further education college, so we've all been exceptionally busy and it's been quite a rough half term. However, we got there in the end and I can breathe, so I just didn't have time to record up to this point. October's been quite busy with one thing and another with the kids. So it's now holiday, so I'm just going to dive straight into my stitching because I have actually been focusing on that, and there were some weeks where I didn't get a huge amount done and other weeks when I got a bit more done for reasons I'll explain as I go along. I'm going to start out with a fully finished object. This was my fully finished object for September. This is My Fair Ladybug by Just Nan, which, if you remember, I stitched in August. So getting it finished so quickly is absolutely a bonus. I stitched it as a little pillow with some ribbon, using just some fabric from my stash, which I think I picked up on one of my first visits to the States many years ago. So that's I wouldn't like to say where the fabric, I think it came from Joann's or Hobby Lobby, one of the two, 20 years ago, so don't. And the ribbon again was odds and sods I had in my stash. So very pleased with how that's come out. I got it finished in time for it to just briefly go out on the summer display before I swapped it out for autumn. Yeah, so My Fair Ladybug by Just Nan. I have finished October's piece. I will show you that when I get there. It actually got stitched, finished and finished in October. All I can say is I think the end of days must be nigh. So, when I last spoke to you all, it was the beginning of September and sample of September. So I'll run through what I got done in September and all the whips I worked on. When I last spoke to you, I was working on Clara Ellen by Blackbird Designs. This is part of the Anniversaries of the Heart series, but this is the only one I'm doing. As I've explained before, I'm stitching it for my great-grandmother. Her name was Clara Ellen, so I felt I needed to stitch this one. I'm using all the called for Crescent Classic Colourworks and Gentle Arts. There's only one Gentle Art in there, the rest are Classic Colourworks. And I don't actually, I only had one more night stitching after you saw it last time. I'm back. There we go. And I made a start on the plant. I think I had finished the initial personalisation. I put my great-grandmother's maiden name in a bit and her date of death. So I'm just working, I've just got this big plant to do that goes into a planter, and the planter will have her date of birth. So hopefully that won't take too much longer to finish. More about which when I get to my plans. So yeah, so that's Clara Ellen. The linen is, I'm not sure what it is. It's just some random 28 count linen, unlabelled, that I had in my stash, and was just one of several that I pulled out when I was doing a floss toss, and that was the one that the colours look best on. So it's a sort of a pale taupey colour. I'm actually going to be picking up Clara Ellen from tonight to work on for the rest of October, so which is why she's not seen any other progress since the beginning of September. I could be, because I have slightly rejigged my rotation, which I will talk about later on. However, I was still with the old one for September. So I had 2 new starts in September. The first one is Woolly Winter by Shepherd's Bush. I was gifted the chart by a good friend after she'd finished stitching it, along with all the leftover beads and threads. And as you all know, I've done 3 of the seasons charts. Woolly Winter's the last one I need to do, having finished spring, summer and autumn. So these are the colours. Very Shepherd's Bush palette, I think you'll agree, with the pale blues and mauves. And this is my progress. Again, I'm stitching on fabric from Stash. This is some 32 count Twilight Jobelan. The chart calls for 32 count Twilight linen, so I decided I'd go with what I had in hand, and this was my progress after the first few days. A couple of days I stitched on it. I think I just stitched on it over a weekend. So got a couple of bots on top and made a start on the snowman. Very pleased with that. Hopefully when I next pick it up it won't take too long to complete. Those little charts never do, which is quite why I like doing them. The next piece I worked on in September was An Open Heart by The Drawn Thread. I was doing this as part of a stitch along on Instagram for a while. So I got gifted the kit by a good friend when the chart came out in the early 2000s. So it's being stitched with the call for MPI. I tend to store my MPI, I store my silks in floss away bags. So and I think the linen is the called for 34 count Cafe au lait, or it might be 34 count Elegant Bean, I'm not sure. I've lost that bit of information somewhere along the way. So this is my progress on An Open Heart. Loving how this is looking. So this time round I finished this heart band here and worked down. So I got another bit of the verse done and another heart band and some white work. So that's An Open Heart. I'm not sure when this is going to come out because I've decided not to do the weekend stitch alongs. I wanted to get a bit more progress on a few things happening. So yeah, so I'm loving that one, and when it does actually come up I don't think it'll take me too long to stitch and get a finish on. Just bear with me, I'm just going to pause this video because I need to go blow my nose. Right, that's better. Right, next full sample of September was the first of 2 Scarlet House patterns. I started Rachel Howell's last year, also for Scarlet's sample of September. I was very pleased to get her out again because she hadn't been worked on since last September. Again, I'm using all the called for MPI silks. And here is my progress. If I can get it all in or not. There we go. I did have to do some frogging up here because when I put it away I'd miscounted one of the leaves. But I got that right. And I actually decided what I actually need to do is stop. I got too bored with working on the border. So I decided to start. I'm just going to complete the first page of the chart, I think. So I got a bit of border down here and started doing a bit of the fill-in on the border flowers. And this is the far side of the top border. So I have that in. So quite pleased with the progress. Obviously it'd be nice to see a bit more, but I'm hoping to start seeing a few things a bit more often, but we shall see how that goes. Then I worked on, I had my second new start for September was another Scarlet House pattern, Mary Betchell 1810, which is one I've absolutely loved for ages because I just love the colours on it. So I had to indulge and use the called for Belle Soy from Classic Colourworks. Just love, love, love this red, which is tulip, so rich, and the beanstalk green. Now, the week I decided to work on Mary Betchell, my son brought COVID home from school the week before. He was in school for 1 week, and he came home with COVID. So he was off for a week, and then he gave it to his dad, who gave it to me. I wasn't impressed. So this was also the week of the Queen's funeral. So I was feeling absolutely rubbish, so quite happy to just sit on the sofa and watch proceedings and stitch on Mary. And I made fantastic progress. I got all the border done. I made a start on one of the first of those two flower motifs at the top. So yeah, so I've gone all the way around with the border, and I'm now putting in the other bit. The border is 3 cross stitches wide, so I've done the middle bit, and I'm putting in the 2 bits on the outside, the leaves, and today starting to work on one of the inside motifs. Very pleased with my progress on Mary. Loved working on her. Again, as I said, chart I've been loved for ages. And the linen I'm using is Fibre on a Whim 40 count Affogato that I bought from Peakside Needleworks. And I think it's going to look absolutely glorious when it's done. So that's Mary Betchell. My last piece for September was, excuse me, I'll have a drink of coffee. One of my class pieces, the last of the class pieces I still needed to work on. It is, and it was Iberthia. Now, I took the class with Nicola at Fobbles back in 2016, and I had sort of worked on and off. This was the piece, the teaching piece she was doing in the class, just teaching us some of the reversible techniques. having had a long hard think about it, I am not making Bethia reversible in the interest of actually getting her finished. I would rather have the finished sampler than a perfectly reversible reproduction. She won't be framed reversibly, so I thought it was time I actually made a start on the sampler itself. I will get back and finish the teaching piece at some point, but so she's being stitched in a Verissoir that we got the complete kit at the class. I think this is 40 count light mocha linen, and I have just made a start on the white work name at the top. You can see it says I Bethia, and I think Nicola said that they've done some research and they think the surname should be Wormold, and underneath it says wrought. I think it says wrought this. So small start, not a long one because I didn't have a lot of stitching time that week, but good to get it started. And and then I'm almost at one of my goals for the year, which was to touch all of my whips. More of that in a minute. Just bear with me because stuff is sliding off my pile. So these are the silks for Bethia, and so all a Verissoir. Beautiful colours, rich colours. I shall enjoy getting back to them. Now during September I was having a think about how I wanted my stitching to go, because I wanted to start seeing a bit more progress on stuff and actually have some finishes. So at the end of September I only had, you will remember that my goal for the year was to touch all of my whips. So at the end of September I only had 2 left to work on. Both pieces I'd started in October, one last year, one the year before. And I'd one class whip that I hadn't worked on, which was a piece of needle lace from the Eckworth Gathering. Now I'd had a long hard think about that one and decided I'm not going to do that at the minute, so I have put that one, I've retired that one for the time being, and you'll see one of the October whips because I worked on that this month, and the next one I'll work on next month, and then I'm done. So I was starting to think about what I wanted to do with my stitching. I've had 2 starts a month this last year, and I don't want to carry on with that, so I'm going back down to 1 a month, just because I want to get more time on pieces. And I was watching Michelle, Cozy Egg, and she was in one of her videos and she was talking about overwhelm, just watching people and just the sheer amount of stuff that seemed to come in, which I kind of related to, and how she wanted to be more intentional about how she was managing what she was working on and what she was doing, which I also related to. And don't get me wrong, I like a good large haul video as much as the next person, but not all the time. And that doesn't work for me either. As you know, I don't get a lot of, I bought a fair bit this year, but I'm probably not gonna, I need to try and spread stuff out a bit more. So I went through all my whips and sort of sorted them into types: large pieces, reproduction samplers, glass pieces, which were already sort of sorted anyway, small and medium. And what I've decided to do is spend 5 days every month working on something. So I've got sort of 5 categories: small, large, medium, class and reproduction sampler, and then a new start. Because I've got so many things that I started and that I just have a tiny little bit of border, and I would like to get past the tiny little bit border stage on a lot of them and actually see about getting some stuff finished. So that's what I started to do in October. So the first piece I worked on was one I decided was a large piece, which is Skylar Wayne from Indigo Rose. I started this for Mania in 2019, so it's my oldest non-class whip. That makes sense. I was gifted the kit to stitch it with the colourful linen and Karen threads by a stitching pen pal at some point. I think she was called Carol. So it's some watercolours and some soy crystal. They are lovely. And I spent 5 days working on Skylar Wayne. I'm very pleased with my progress. So I had one and a bit trees done up the side. So I finished the trees up the side. I've made a start on the tree on the corner. And I've got all the alphabet in and finished the grid work at the top. So that is looking lovely. And I think what I'm going to do is just keep every month working on Skylar Wayne until I get bored. At which point I will pull another large project out and get a little bit of stitching in on that. But I did actually really enjoy working on that one, so I think I'm going to keep going on that one for the time being, and then see about just really move it on. Because that's my problem. Pieces like this get a day or two and then put down again for months, and I really want to see some real progress. And I think a few months solid stitching on it, working on it for say 5 days, and it should really come on. But we'll see. Say I reserve the right to move on to another piece 1 month, just because to get some progress on one of them when I get bored with this one. But I'm not bored with Skylar Wayne just yet. After I'd worked on that, I pulled out my small piece for the month, which was excuse me, Autumn Acorn, which was started in autumn 2020, and I didn't have a lot done. I'd done the bird, and I'd done that little cross. However, 5 days of working on it, hold your horses. Not only did I finish it, being off this week, I got it finished. Unheard of, I know, and it's hugely shocking to you all. So this is Kelmscott Designs Autumn Acorn. It's stitched on a little piece of 40 count pearl barley from Lakeside Linen, which was left over from stitching Dorothy Walpole. I used some Gloriana Jacaranda, I think it is, floss, of which I had a little bit left after doing a kit. And the acorn came with the chart, and it's DMC 938 that I used for the cording. So yeah, very pleased to actually get that out of the whip pile, out of the finishing pile, and be able to put it out in my autumn displays this year. So yeah, so new rotation working already. After I'd finished Autumn Acorn, I had a new start. Things are escaping again, I'm afraid. What I pulled out to work on was a kit from 2012. This was a kit that was sold by Lois of then Elegant Stitch, now Lady Dot Creates, as a breast cancer fundraiser. It's called Life's a Gift, Untie the Ribbon. So it came with box, which I can't get at the minute. It's got something, the cupboard it's in has got something else in front of me. And it's a set of smalls. There's a little tag, there's a ruler case, the waxer, a little pin cushion, scissor fob, strawberry and needle case. These are the colours. There's a couple of colours of Gentle Art, some green DMC Flosh and Perle Cotton. And what I got done was I got the stitching done for the monogram. Lois is always very generous with her linen in her kits, and that will get mounted either side of this tag. It's the fabric's from Moda. I'm not sure of the range, but the box is made out of fabric of this colour. So my initials will go on the front of the tag. Oh, it does seem to be the day where everything wants to escape. The other piece I worked on was for the ruler holder. So I got one side finished, which is straight lines, and then there's a sort of a Fair Isle pattern on this one. And then the only other bit of stitching is the needle case. So when I get back to that one, hopefully that should, the needle case is there, and that's the back. That needle case shouldn't take very long at all, really. So that's gone on the small pile in my pile of small projects to get finished. Yeah, one of the reasons I started that one was we were away a couple of weekends ago because my daughter was taking part, her music. She does a drama musical theatre group, which is a national franchise. And nationally, they'd hired one of the West End theatres to go and put on a show. So she went and did that on the Sunday. So I needed something I could stitch in a hotel room, and that's got linen. It's quite easy to work on with on a hotel room light, unlike some of my other stuff. So that's what prompted me to pull that one out. So as a 31 days in October, that actually got 6 days rather than 5, but I don't figure that's a bad thing necessarily for some of my new starts. After that, it was on to my focus piece, which is the Upworth Whitework sampler. Now I have no idea how well this is going to show up because with the light. I didn't get a lot done on this one again. It was a rather fraught week at work, and I had to work into the evening one day for an open evening. I also went to a gig. I went to see the Proclaimers. They were excellent. So all I got done was I finished this satin stitch border at the bottom and made a start on outlining the cut work, the boxes for the cut work inside. Not got a lot left to do on this once I have finished that done the cut work on there. I've just got a couple of cross stitch acorns to add and it's done. And I think what I'm going to do for finishing is just hem stitch around it. So I'll probably just crack on with doing the hem stitch once I've done that. But this will get worked on every month until it's finished. I reserve the right to swap some of my other projects out as I get bored with them. The small projects will get worked on every month till they get finished. Same with my medium-sized ones. Clara Ellen is going to be the first of the medium-sized ones because, as I said before, I am aiming to get that finished this year, and I think it's eminently possible that I will. My reproduction sampler project this month was Hannah Coates, 1848. I have worked on Hannah this year, and I thought I would make good progress and I'd got all the border in until I got over here and it didn't match because I put the bottom line of the grass in and it was 3 stitches too high up. So I had to frog that back, worked out that the problem was up here on this side. So I got all my frogging done and got my border restitched. I also, to make it a little more interesting, having done all that green vine first time round, started outlining the flowers and putting some of the leaves in, just so I could actually, it also meant I noticed if I made a mistake in my counting on the vine, and I'm fairly sure we're right now. So yeah, so this is Hannah Coates. So yeah, there's definitely some progress with getting the stuff down this side. She's been stitched in DMC. The colourful DMCs, nice bright colours, on a piece of 40 count light mocha from Zweigart. So yeah, so I frogged back everything and then frogged back up to, I think it was about there, and then have restitched that side border, plastering, putting in some of the flowers on the border. I think actually what I'm going to do, because I've got so many projects that I've just a bit of border on or something, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out one of my other reproduction samplers to work on next month, and then I'll work on Hannah Coates again until I get to the point where I'm out with Skylar Wayne, where I feel I just want to crack on and get it finished, but there's too much left to stitch and I've got so many projects that are in that boat at the minute. So the goal of my new rotation is to try and get a few past that and actually get some finishes. I'm still going to be starting new stuff, but hopefully I can get some of the smaller pieces finished, smaller medium-sized pieces finished. They will just get worked on until they're done, and then we'll see. So you're going to start seeing a lot of the same projects on my videos, but I don't necessarily think that's going to be a bad thing if you actually can, some of them actually progress. Might hopefully make it a little more interesting to see how much I actually get done. But I say I don't get huge amounts of stitching time in a week. 5 days stitching for me is roughly 5 hours. That's just the way my life is at the minute, and I can't see that changing anytime soon. Maybe an hour and a half at the weekends if it's piecework being worked on over a weekend. Hey ho, won't last forever. My daughter keeps reminding me, my daughter's on the countdown to a GC. She keeps telling me, well, in 1.5 years I'll be doing my GCSEs. Another 2 years and I'll be doing my A-levels and then I'll be at university. I'm like, please, just slow down. But hey, anyway, some haul. Back in January, I'm a member of the Homespun Needlework cross-stitch and needlework group on Facebook, and as I'm sure many of you know, the admin on there, Julie Casave, regularly organises exclusives for the group. So back in January I ordered the exclusive from Stacey Nash, and it didn't arrive, and it didn't arrive, and it didn't arrive. And I had some to and fro with Stacey. She said, I'll send another one. Don't know what's happened to that one. Out of the blue in September, I got contacted by a company about a mile up the road from me. The original package had ended up with them because at some point Stacey had addressed the package with my address, but somewhere in the post office they'd put this company's address on it. And they got it and just slung it in a cupboard. And then they found it again and tracked me down through Facebook to say, we've got your package. So thankfully, I finally have the Bees and Birds sewing roll from Stacey Nash, which was the kit offered through the Homespun Samplers Cross Stitch and Needlework group. Very pleased to have it. This will be a start next year. This is why I'm still going to keep having starts next year. So it came with some 36 count weeks Dyeworks linen in beige, the Call for Weeks threads, ribbon for the Viscornu. There is a waxer, a bee waxer, which I've not taken out of its little bag yet. And I am looking forward to making a start on that one. Very, very grateful that they actually just stuck it in a cupboard rather than slung it in the bin, actually. Yeah. Don't know quite how. A totally different address. Not even the same address, different postcode, everything. What went wrong there? And then, of course, I also had to have the Scarlet House exclusive from the same group, a sampler for all seasons. This came through the Shepherd's Needle, who I've ordered, who I've got stuff from in the past, so that beautiful. Classic Colourworks threads. I went for the cotton version. Generally, if there is an option on these things, I will go for the cottons just because it's marginally cheaper for me, because by the time you factor in international postage, it's expensive just getting the cottons, never mind anything else. Some 40 count Steinbeck linen from Needle and Flax, which I'm looking forward to trying. And there's a little pin cushion, so you get some pins and a cut of fabric to do the pin cushions as well. Again, that will be one I start next year. I think I've got Anne Kirby to do as well. I have also ordered the Fox and Rabbit exclusive, so there'll be 4 of those. And just this morning, Florence Mary Dickinson arrived, obviously, from Hobby House, the exclusive from Hobby House Needleworks from Hands Across the Sea. Obviously, couldn't not. Absolutely beautiful flowers. And there's also, this came with 40 count creme brulee linen from Tabby Cat, which again, I've not tried Tabby Cat linen, so I'm looking forward to trying that one. And I got the DMC versions, and the DMCs all came packaged in a nice little pouch. So there we go. And I was quite surprised, but very happy to find I was one of the people. I got ordered early enough to get the Minnie McBean's floss tag. A very pretty piece. So yes, don't throw it in your coffee, Caroline. That won't work. Very good. So yeah, that arrived today. Very pleased. Only 9 days from, 8 days actually, took to cross the Atlantic. I don't know how Hobby House Needleworks do it to get everything over so fast, but oh wow, yeah, because you know, but yes, I was very pleased to have gotten that in the post. that is all the cross stitch. I will pause this video now and put that all away and get my knitting and quilting stuff out, and we'll have a quick run through that. Back in a minute. Right, I'm back. I also, at the beginning of September, took the decision I was going to just work on one knitting project every month and just be a bit more intentional than that, partly because I knew September was going to be nuts, but it's kind of working. I can't knit for long anymore because of the issues I mentioned in my last video, following on from a trapped nerve in my shoulder. I've still got real tendonitis in my hands, so I can't knit for long periods of time anymore. So I'm just working on one of my WIP projects a month. So in September I worked on my socks because I knew it was going to be absolutely nuts at work. So it's a really simple project, and I'm quite happy with the progress I've made on my socks. I'm just doing plain vanilla socks in some Opal Fresh and Juicy. Is it Fresh and Juicy? Yeah, Fresh and Juicy, that I had in deep stash that had been there for 6-7 years. So this is the yarn. And these are the socks. The stitch marker there shows where I was at the time of my last video. So I was just almost finished the leg at that point. So I got that done. I did my heel, did my usual heel flap and gusset, and I'm well on the way to completing. I was wondering if I might get a full sock completed in September, but I didn't. But still very happy with the progress I made, so I will definitely get that sock finished in December when I pick it back up again, and should get a reasonable start given it's December and I will be off work for half the month on the next one. So I'm not sure whether they'll be in my sock drawer or my daughter's sock drawer, because she's after more woolly socks and she has feet that are almost the same size as mine now. So yeah, so this is just being, I prefer to knit on DPNs. Your mileage may vary. So this is 2.5mm DPNs and Opal sock yarn. Loving how this is knitting up. Actually, I do like the nice cheerful colours, which was just what I needed. So this month in October I'm working on my habitation throw from Curious Handmade. And again, I can't knit for long, I can only do a couple of rows at a time, but I'm making decent progress on this. So this is where I'm at so far. I'm 6 colours in to a 24 colour blanket, a scrappy blanket. Come back. I'm really pleased with how my colours are playing out at the minute. I think that it's going quite well. So last time you saw this, I was there where the stitch marker is. So I've finished that grey, stitched in the blue, which was a mini from Eden Cottage Yarns with a bit of sparkle in it. I don't know if it'll show or not, because it's a very pale blue and the silver sparkle. And then I'm on to this cream, which is some Border Tart yarn, Border Tart on Instagram, that I bought at, I think, I bought at Yarndale a while ago and left over from knitting my Mayhem shawl. So yeah, so really pleased with how that's coming together. And so, little frustrating, I can only, on this one I literally can only do 2 rows at a time and then I have to stop because my hand is too sore. But hey, 2 rows every day and it grows. So however, not being able to knit much doesn't stop me buying something. You remember I bought, I just recently, in my last video, showed you the finished Twig and Blood shawl by Anne Catherine Begg, Marna Gilligan. Well, I've got the summer shawl. I didn't buy the autumn one because it wasn't really my colours, but I will get the shawl pattern. But she released the colours for her winter shawl, which is called Flake. Should be released this weekend. And one of the colours was just shrieking my name. This is Aurora. Just love those greens and blues together. Yeah, I didn't get the autumn one because it was reds and oranges, and they're not my colours. I wouldn't wear a shawl in that. So I'll get the pattern and then find something I can knit that in. So that's on the pile once I've done the summer one, once I've finished some other stuff off. Along with the yarn, Marna also sends you some stitch markers. And so I got a whole packet of bulb pins. And where are the stitch markers? Those are the stitch markers. You see that? Put it on there. So there's 2 of them, and then there's a whole load of bulb pins and other little stitch markers in there as well. Just put them all away. So as far as knitting goes, until the end of October, I'm going to carry on with my habitation throw, and then for November I'll be back on the Miss May shawl, which I'm right looking forward to getting back to. But again, I probably will only be able to knit a couple of rows at a time. The sock goes faster because I can, the rows are shorter, so I can knit a few more. So that's it for knitting. There's been a little bit of quilting. I've carried on working on my 2 mystery quilts, and I've done another clue. So I've done clue 6 for both quilts. So this is Sparkle and Shine. So that's one clue, part of clue 6. And that's the other part of clue 6. Now, Sparkle and Shine was the mystery quilt from last year, so not so much a mystery anymore. And that used Juicy and Andover fabrics. This is clue 6, So Sweet. Now the range is called Flora and Fauna. I can't remember who the designer is, but it was from Macawa Fabrics. So if you do a search on Flora and Fauna, I'm sure it will come up. So loving that one. So that was all I had time to do. I did, however, make a start on when I was at Catholic Workshops. I showed you this last time. I bought this kit to do some wool applique. And so I've made a start on the wool applique. Just a small start, but I just fancied something a little different when I was waiting for the glue to dry on my autumn acorn. So yeah, hopefully get back to that and get that finished by the time I record again. Did buy a little bit of quilting stash. Lisa at the Modern Quilt Club was offering up kits for this pattern by Sweet Cinnamon Roses. It's for a tiny needle book. She was selling the pattern and a class to do it, so I've bought both. And this is the kit from Lisa. She offered the pre-cut squares for the outside and a selection of fabrics. So I think she was just sort of clearing up some bolt ends and things, and some more affiliate floss, the zip floss. So you got all the materials off Lisa, and then you bought the pattern off Sweet Cinnamon Roses herself. So looking forward to getting to trying that one out, because I think it's a pattern I might use a lot for things. So loving that I have some sewing yarn fabric in this kit. So as far as my quilting goes, I'd like to get next to clue 7 done on both quilts before I record again. Hopefully get the heart finished. I don't think I'll get my needlework started. I suspect that might be a Christmas holidays thing, but we shall see. So yeah, so that's my video, a little shorter than before. Hopefully, I will be surprised if I manage to get back before we break up for the Christmas holidays. However, we do break up for the Christmas holidays a week before Christmas. So worst case scenario is I record that week before Christmas and get it up. So I'm really hoping this particular video is not going to take me 2 weeks to edit like it normally does, but we shall see. It does require me finding enough time to spend 2 or 3 hours just sat at my computer, which I do that all day at work, and I tend to try and find other things to do at home, but hopefully I can get that. I'll see if I can get that done this weekend, but don't hold your breath. So it's been lovely to see you all. Please like and subscribe. Please comment. I do like comments, even if I'm not the best at replying to them promptly. And I will see you all at some point in December. So take care, enjoy your stitching, and I'll see you all then. Bye.